Welcome to the Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy here on Pub Sports Radio, Thursday, February 10th, and the countdown is on. What are we, 72 hours away from Super Bowl 56? The Los Angeles Rams taking on the Cincinnati Bengals. Definitely excited and getting more and more amped up for the game now that we're, closing in on 2-3 days before the Super Bowl kicks off. When you first, get off Conference Championship Sunday, it takes you a while to really feel that excitement, get the adrenaline going in your body for the Super Bowl. It takes a while, but it's here now that we are just a couple of days away from this big game. So we're looking forward to it. And we're looking forward to this show with some melancholy feelings just because of the fact that this will be the final Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy show for this season. Of course, we started the show way back in, I would say, August? Yeah, August. Whenever the CFL football season, Canadian football, started, that's when this show started for this season, this current season that we're in right now. And the goal of this show is we cover all things pro football. We start with the CFL when it kicks off, and then we carry it over into NFL when it kicks off during the season. So it's a CFL NFL hybrid show. That's always the way it's been here. But of course, CFL has been over now for a couple months. And of course, the NFL will wrap up this Sunday. So this is the season finale of the show. I'm hoping the show will be back. I'm hoping I'll still be here at Pub Sports Radio later this year. And if I am, I definitely plan on bringing the show back in June when the CFL season kicks off. And yes, the CFL season for 2022 will kick off at its normal scheduled part of the year, I guess you could say, in the middle of June, because obviously last year, the start of the season was delayed due to the COVID-19 issues. But the anticipation is that the CFL will kick off in June this year when it normally does. So that is when I intend to bring the Football Frenzy show back once again for the next season. So this is our final show. Let's make it count, and let's talk Super Bowl 56. LA Rams, Cincinnati Bengals. As of this show being done live on Thursday afternoon, we currently see the LA Rams around a 4.5 point favorite here in this game. Some books have actually dropped it to 4. Actually, most have. There are still a couple 4.5s out there, so make sure you shop around still to make sure you find the best number you can. But most of the Bengals 4.5s that were there early in the week have dropped to 4, and the total pretty much standing pat at 48.5 in this game. So let's start with the side because of the side and the total. The side is my stronger opinion. I like Cincinnati here. I've said it, for about a week and a half now, in every radio segment and appearance I've made. I'm making a case for Cincinnati here. They feel like this team of destiny. I think we've seen enough from the Cincinnati Bengals to believe in them on both sides of the football. We've seen an offense with Joe Burrow who is calm under pressure, who can make good throws, accurate throws, limit mistakes when the pressure is on and in close games. We've seen the offensive line, and we'll get to that matchup against the Rams defensive front. It's obviously one of the biggest concerns here for Cincinnati going into this game. But when I look at it here, the offensive line got immensely better against Kansas City last week after giving up the 9 sacks to the Tennessee Titans in the divisional round. So that's a positive. And what I like, too, about the Bengals is we've seen this team respond to adversity. This is not a team that has quit in their DNA. It just is not. And if you can't figure that out from watching the AFC Championship game a couple weeks ago, I don't know what else I need to show you or say to you to prove just how resilient and mentally tough the Bengals are. They have shown, even for a very young team, relatively speaking, that they can take a punch and they can punch back. We've seen the coaching staff for the Cincinnati Bengals. And look, Zach Taylor has received his share of criticism. There's no question about that during his tenure with the Bengals, particularly prior to this year when things weren't going so well. But what we have seen from this coaching staff is good in-game adjustments, good quality adjustments, likes of which we saw against Kansas City when they completely shuffled their defensive scheme and changed things around, dropped more of their linebackers and safeties into coverage, rushed only 3, and it completely changed the game for Cincinnati for the better. As it completely, I think, fooled Kansas City what Cincinnati was throwing at them defensively in that game. So a lot of credit goes to the Bengals for doing that. I think when you look at this game now and why I'm backing Cincinnati, I'll just briefly mention it because it's something that helps formulate your opinion. It shouldn't be something that you just solely bet because of this. But the Joe Burrow underdog track record is unbelievably strong. Going back to college football at LSU, going this year with the Bengals, even last year with the Bengals as well for Joe Burrow. The season where he got it, obviously his season ended early with that gruesome injury, but he had been a very good quarterback to back and to bet on catching points even last year. And that's carried over into this year. The Bengals, when they're getting 3 points or more this season as an underdog, 6-0 straight up, 6-0 against the spread. And make note of the 6-0 straight up part of that equation. That means that in the 6 times they've been an underdog of 3 points or more this year, not only have they covered the number, they've won the game straight up outright on the field. That's very impressive from this Cincinnati team. And when I look at the matchup here, no doubt Cincinnati's offensive line will be tested by the Rams' defensive front. Aaron Donald, Leonard Floyd and company are a fierce, dynamic group that can collapse the pocket. But what I find with the Rams, and I go back and look, and I read a lot of stats and numbers about the Rams going into this matchup, is they often need to blitz to get the most pass rush they can get. When they just rush 4 or a 3 or 4 man rush at the quarterback and they don't bring extra help or bring that blitz, they are actually league average in terms of pass rush, pass rush metrics in the NFL this season. That surprised me. So what it tells you is, yeah, it's a pretty good pass rush here, but you're looking at a team going into this game where a lot of times they've got to bring the blitz to get the most, rush on the quarterback. And that's significant in this game to mention because Joe Burrow is outstanding against teams that blitz. And he's always been very good at, picking up, those situations when the defense is bringing extra players to get after the quarterback. And he has been very good at detecting it, noting it, and being able to get the ball out accurately, efficiently, and move the chains. He did that a lot against Kansas City, the times they blitzed, of course, in the AFC Championship game. And, of course, the Chiefs are a team that blitzes a little bit more than the average NFL team. I find that and so again, if those stats are true, and I've definitely read them and seen them, so obviously they are, you're talking about a Rams team. Can they get a pass rush on this Bengals offensive line with just a 3 or 4 man rush? Tennessee could, but if you look at actually the pass rushing efficiency numbers between the Titans and the Rams, Titans have much better numbers in terms of their pass rush. So they could have, that's why they were so effective in limiting the Bengals offense. And the Bengals, again, very fortuitous to escape that game and even be in a position here to be in the Super Bowl. But a big part of why the offense kind of scuffled for the Bengals that day in Music City is because Tennessee was an above average pass rush team in that game. And the Rams, to me, they are a solid pass rush team. But when I started to see that they needed to blitz more often than not to get the sacks and the hurries and the pressures that they did much of the season, I'm like, Joe Burrow's pretty damn good against blitzing teams. Something to keep an eye on. I think that's probably a good thing for the Bengals here. So when you look at Matt Stafford here in the Rams, obviously, if I'm Sean McVay, and I'm going to definitely mention this. So there you go. I like Cincinnati plus the points. I'll just, put a bow on that. I think their pass defense is really, really going to be potentially something to watch here because when you look at the second half against Kansas City, they decided, you know what, we're going to trust our pass defense. We're going to make sure we take that away because it was really Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, Hardman, Pringle, all of those receivers for Kansas City that were doing significant damage in the first half. And the difference in that pass defense in the second half was incredible by the Cincinnati Bengals in that game. Can they carry that over here? You're talking about having to go up against Cooper Kupp. You're having to talk about going against a revitalized, rejuvenated Odell Beckham, who's been terrific here in these playoffs. And we'll get to Odell more in the prop discussion in just a few minutes because there's definitely he's definitely someone I am targeting from a prop standpoint in this game. I think that's going to be the challenge for the Bengals, but we saw They dropped in extra players into coverage, and Mahomes couldn't figure it out. The question is, can Stafford figure it out? The thing that would worry me for Stafford is sometimes when he can't figure it out, he forces something that he shouldn't. We noted that the interception numbers went up at the end of the regular season. Now, he's been much better here in the playoffs in terms of taking care of the football, ball security. It's been pretty solid here in the playoffs for Matthew Stafford, but it's going to be definitely put to the test a little bit here in this game. Again, I find this is a very close game. To me, my number had this closer to 3.5 on the Rams, not 4, and certainly not 4.5 where it was just a few days ago. I think they're factoring in a home field edge for the Rams that isn't there. This is not some scary, just absolutely, it's in on your ears, and you can't hear yourself think home field at SoFi Stadium. And if you think for a second that there's not going to be a lot of Bengals fans making the trip from cold Ohio at this time of year, early February, to go see their team play in the Super Bowl for the first time in 34 years, you'd better believe there's going to be a healthy contingent of Cincinnati Bengals orange in the crowd here. So I don't think this is going to be that. They're factoring the point spread in like this is a true home game for the Rams. It will not be a true home game for the Rams. It will not be a true home field advantage. The Rams home crowd support is not phenomenal to begin with. It's a lot of celebs in the crowd, a lot of LA, entertainment people, and it's a wine and cheese crowd, as I like to say. That's what it is, for the Rams and their fans at their home games at SoFi. And you're going to get a lot of Bengals support. So I think they're putting too much emphasis into the fact, the Rams are playing this Super Bowl in their home stadium. Yeah, but is it going to feel like a real, true, raucous, all-pro home team atmosphere and environment? I don't think so. In this one. So I like Cincinnati here, plus 4.5. I'm neutral on the total. I will say that right now. I really don't have a thought one way or the other with the total. 48.5. I think both of these teams, the initial money toward the under, I think made sense. I think 51, which is where it opened, 50.5 did seem a little bit high, especially when we saw Cincinnati's defense really play so well in the second half against Kansas City. We've seen the Rams defense, for 3 quarters, the Bucs didn't do anything against them at all. They did a pretty solid job for the most part against Jimmy Garoppolo and the Niners. I think they did, about as good a job as you can on Deebo Samuel as well in that game. So I think the Rams defense actually played solid. So the early money on the under kind of makes sense. This is a game that I think the first half under could be worth a look. I do want to mention one thing, and this is a stat that really stuck out to me, and we'll talk about this in terms of live betting this game. The Cincinnati Bengals have not given up, I believe they have not given up more than 10 points in the second half in any game going back to, I believe, week 11 of the regular season. That is unbelievable when you think about that. What the Bengals defense has been able to do and the adjustments that their defensive coordinator and that coaching staff has made at halftime. They have held all opponents to 10 points or less in the second half of their games since week 11. That's regular season and playoffs. Unreal, to be honest with you, what we have seen from the Bengals in terms of their adjustments defensively. They have been slow starters in a lot of games as well. That's something that's a trend that we have seen from Cincinnati. Obviously, we saw it in the AFC Championship game 2 weeks ago. They got behind 21-3 to the Kansas City Chiefs in that game, and they needed to come all the way back. So if you like the Rams, I really would prefer the Rams first half. I mean, that's obviously not the side I like, at least not full game. I like Cincinnati plus the points. But if you like the Rams, I think the first half is probably what you want to go with in this game. Plus the fact you've got a Rams team that Sean McVay's been to the Super Bowl before as a head coach a couple years ago against the Patriots. Didn't go well, but he's been here. You got a lot of these players that have been here. Not Stafford, but I'm talking about, Donald. A lot of the players on the defensive side of the football been to a Super Bowl. Von Miller, of course, who's now with the Rams. He's been to a Super Bowl. You've got guys that have been here. It just might be easier to just settle into the game early for the Rams compared to the Bengals. And then you factor in the Cincinnati's propensity for slow starts in a lot of these games. That's why it's just a suggestion on my part that personally, if I were to like the LA Rams in this game, I would definitely prefer the first half. because of that, performance trend we've seen from the Bengals where they've started slow. And current line has the first half at -3 right now for the LA Rams in this game. And then you factor in what I mentioned with the Bengals just shutting down teams and putting the clamp down defensively repeatedly, week after week, dating all the way back to week 11. Just incredible adjustments defensively, holding teams 10 points or less, in the second half. I think a live wager at halftime, if it plays out this way and the Rams are up, let's say by 7, by 10, maybe even by 2 touchdowns at halftime, you better believe I'm going to be looking at Cincy second half. We have just seen a strong track record, and time and time and time again, this team not quitting, not giving up. And this is the Super Bowl. You're not going to quit in the Super Bowl. We know this team doesn't get discouraged when they're down by a double-digit margin. We've seen that now on display, specifically 2 weeks ago against the Chiefs. So to me, that's the way. That's really a good, sound side strategy here for the side in this game. Rams first half. Now I'm on the full game, but I'm talking about I might actually do this, even though I'm on Cincinnati +4, 4.5 here for the full game. I still might take my own advice here and go Rams -3 first half, and then come back with a live bet or a halftime bet on Cincinnati, because we have just seen such a strong recent track record of this Bengals team having a very good second half in pretty much every game they've played, but especially defensively. Rams team total under. How about that as a suggestion? Maybe you look at an LA Rams live team total under at halftime, not before the game, at halftime, knowing how great the adjustments defensively have been from the Cincinnati Bengals for the last several weeks and how much better that defense has played in the second half. So those are just some in-game strategies that I'm considering. Rams probably start strong. I think they'll probably be starting stronger. Like, I wouldn't even talk anyone out as we shift to the props here. First drive of the game for the Bengals to be a punt, which I think is like -110. I could see that, and I'm cheering for Cincinnati here as someone that likes them plus the points. But this would not stun me to see them start out of the gate a little slow on offense. They did against Kansas City. You'll remember that. That first quarter was not a Rembrandt by any stretch of the imagination for Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati offense. So that could be something you look at in terms of props. First time out of the game. Normally, I stay away from these props. Usually, they're random. Usually, there's, it's just, based on the situation in the game. You don't know when a random challenge is going to happen. You don't know when a random moment could occur when quarterback can't hear the play call in his headset and they got to burn a timeout. It's hard to pinpoint those kind of things and when they're going to happen during a football game. But it's hard to deny the fact that the LA Rams have had a very consistent track record this year calling the first time out of the game. I mean, it's something like 80% of their games, the LA Rams have called the first time out or have been the team to call the first time out. So, that's a pretty strong sample size. That's a pretty strong percentage in your favor. So that's a prop I like. It was -130 the last I looked at a majority of books. So there's one prop I like. There's not a lot of the, non-player props that I get involved with for the Super Bowl. I really focus more on the player props. I mean, a lot of the game props, like, uh, first score of the game, what's going to happen in terms of individual special teams props. There is one for the special teams prop. First, the opening kickoff to be a touchback does make sense to me from a prop standpoint here. Matt Gay's a pretty strong kicker, and it goes without saying the rookie for Cincinnati, Evan McPherson, has been absolutely outstanding, and he's got a huge, massive leg. Just absolutely booms the football, whether it's field goals or kickoffs. And I think you're going to see a pretty good chance at a touchback here in this game to start it off. Opening kickoff touchback prop, definitely something that I'll be looking to bet as well. As far as player props go, I'm really going to talk more about concepts than, obviously if I like a certain player, what I'm looking at. If it's a running back, it'll be rushing yards, rushing or rush attempts. For a receiver, it'll be receptions, receiving yards, that kind of thing. For the LA Rams, I'm looking at two players offensively for over props. I'm looking at Odell Beckham Jr., wide receiver, because look, if Cooper Kupp's amazing, we can all agree on that, right? He's had an incredible season, and he's got every opportunity every time he steps onto the field to go for 10 receptions and 100 yards and a touchdown or two. We know that. He's that good. And I'm not going to say, you know what, you're crazy to bet his props over. But we're now at the point where, the cat's out of the bag in terms of just what kind of terrific receiver this guy's been. Obviously, MVP level receiver this year for the LA Rams. And now you're seeing his receptions prop for this game, 8.5. You're seeing his receiving yards number in this game currently at 105.5. I'm not saying he won't go over 105.5 receiving yards or he can't go over 8.5 receptions in this game. But boy, you're just not getting prop value, it seems, anymore with him. I mean, you're going to be probably you're going to be splitting hairs here. It's going to be a nail biter, I think, if you're going to take his props over. Whereas Odell Beckham has become every bit the counted on weapon for Matthew Stafford lately as Cooper Kupp. And you're not getting 8.5 receptions on Odell. You're getting 5.5 receptions. You're not getting 105.5 receiving yards for Odell Beckham. You're only getting 62.5 receiving yards with him in this game. So to me, and look, he has locked in on Beckham. Beckham's really elevated his game. He's made some great catches. There was a catch he made. I think it was in the was it the Niners game or was it the Bucks game? But in the playoffs where it looked like the Odell Beckham of old, just 1 foot inbound or a couple feet inbounds, one-handed grab. The kind of skill and ability we know the guy has had. And we thought he had lost it in Cleveland due to injuries, due to being what we thought was a malcontent, not happy in Cleveland. I think he's just not happy with Baker Mayfield. I think that was more the issue because every Ram teammate of Odell here since he's been with the LA Rams are singing his praises, saying he's been nothing short of an outstanding teammate here for the LA Rams. So I would expect Stafford to target him a lot, and I think over 5.5 receptions and 62.5 receiving yards for Odell Beckham is a good way to go. And the other player I'm looking at, it's Cam Akers, because, look, Sean McVay is a hard head coach and offensive play caller to trust. What's he going to do in terms of play or in terms of rush and pass frequency, run pass frequency? Because it really changes for Sean McVay from game to game and even quarter to quarter. He could start out one game throwing the ball 60, 65% of the time. The next game or the next quarter, you could end up seeing him run the ball 60 to 65% of the time. He's very, very tough to gauge in terms of what is his offensive game plan going to be, especially early in the game. But if I'm him, I'm going to anticipate that the Bengals, because it worked so well against Kansas City, rush 3, drop 8. It's what changed that game defensively for Cincinnati and allowed them to get back in the game and beat Kansas City in the AFC Championship. That's what did it. That's what did it, because that pass coverage and the multiple bodies down the field covering the receivers, it was like a jigsaw puzzle to Patrick Mahomes in the second half, and it was a puzzle he could not solve. So if I'm Sean McVay and the Rams and I see that defensive adjustment that the Bengals made and I see that it worked so well, I'm going to say to myself, you know what? It worked so well in the second half. They're probably going to start the game the same way here in this game. I think it's a situation where you're going to see Cincinnati, because it worked so well, they're going to probably start the game against the Rams with that same process defensively. Rush 3, drop 8, see if Stafford can go with it and figure it out. If I'm Sean McVay, I run the football early and often in this game because, to be honest with you, the Bengals' run defense is still a little shaky. It is. I mean, based on the numbers. And, you look at some of these teams that the Rams have played, where their run offense or rushing game hasn't always been great. Well, they've played a lot of good run defenses, and a lot of the recent teams they've played, the Rams, they've had better overall numbers defensively against the run than Cincinnati. I just get that gut feel. This is a hunch. This is, again, we're talking Sean McVay here, who's difficult as fuck to figure it out what he's going to do. Is he going to be run heavy early in the game? Is he going to be pass heavy early in the game? Those are the critical questions for me, but I'm going to trust my gut feel and instinct here that Sean McVay is going to think and see what I see and think right here. And that's this Cincinnati team changed their philosophy. They dropped extra men back in coverage, fooled Mahomes. It worked so well. We're going to start the Super Bowl playing that same defense, that same scheme. Rush 3, drop 8. So if I'm going to expect the Bengals to do that, what's my modus operandi? What's my best path to success offensively early in the game to take advantage of that style of defense? It's run the football, and it's commit to it. Even if you only get 2-3 yards the first carry, stick with it. Especially early in the game, you are still talking about, even though Matthew Stafford's been in the league for over a decade now, you're still talking about a guy that's in his first ever Super Bowl, and a big time pressure moment in his life. Why not take the pressure off his shoulders a little bit, run the ball a little bit with Cam Akers? And the thing with why I like Akers more than Michel is because they obviously think Akers is the better running back, and I wouldn't disagree with them. They had every opportunity to finally give Sonny Michel a bunch of more carries against San Francisco after Cam Akers nearly, cost his team the game with 2 costly fumbles against Tampa Bay, and they got away with it. And yet they still gave the ball quite a bit to Akers. They just feel he's a better runner and fits their offense better in terms of running the football. So Cam Akers over rushing yards, I like that prop here. I do. I think he's going to get over that number, and I think we are going to see a decent amount of Sean McVay just committing to the run, because I think it'll work for him, and I think it'll work for the Rams running the football against this Cincinnati team if they commit to it early and commit to it often. And I think they've got a good chance to do that here. So over 64.5 rushing yards here for Cam Akers. I do like that prop. As far as the Bengals props, if you watch the Super Bowl preview video and Super Bowl package that we did earlier this week, Jimmy the Bag and Jose Bouquet arranged it. Plenty of our Pub Sports Radio personalities were on that, giving their Super Bowl picks and plays and props and thoughts, including me. I mentioned on that video Joe Mixon over receptions and over receiving yards. I don't really like Mixon over rushing yards because I think it's going to be a little tough for the Bengals to run the ball consistently. Burrow over 10.5 rushing yards. I don't mind that one bit. Someone in our chat recommending that because the pass rush is going to be immense, and that goes hand in hand with these two props for Mixon. The over receptions and the over receiving yards. He's going to have to get rid of the ball quickly. We know that. That's when Joe Mixon's going to become that safety valve. Drop out of into the flat. Make yourself available to be an option in the short passing game for Joe Burrow. And I think you'll see Joe Mixon thrown to quite a bit by Burrow in this game, just to cool off that pass rush of the LA Rams. So over 3.5 receptions and over 25.5 receiving yards for Joe Mixon. I like that. And the other player I'm looking at for the Bengals, and just like the Rams, one running back, one receiver. For the Bengals, it's Joe Mixon, but Joe Mixon as a pass catcher, not so much running the football. The other is T. Higgins. Now, we know Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow have a long history together. They've got incredible chemistry and an explosive dynamic on the field. And if you think that he's not going to throw the ball still a lot to Chase, you're kidding yourself. He's going to look for his guy. And Jamar Chase by far is his guy. There's no doubt. But I also think that we're going to see potentially 3, and the reason why he's still going to throw to Chase a lot is because even if Jalen Ramsey, is draped all over Chase, and that's very likely to be the case, I think it'll probably be Ramsey that's matched up with Chase quite a bit here. Joe Burrow just has such faith and confidence in this guy and the timing that they have in the passing game, quarterback to receiver, that he can just chuck the football to Jamar Chase. It doesn't matter if he's got someone draped all over him in coverage, if he's double teamed, whatever. He's got faith in his guy to come down with the football and make the catch. That is the scary dynamic right here for defensive players against Chase. But I think the Rams will work overtime to try to negate Jamar Chase's impact on this game. And even if his targets drop just 2 or 3 from the normal amount of targets he gets per game, that's going to open up some other receivers to make an impact. And to me, that could be T. Higgins here for the Cincinnati Bengals. So I think he could be the beneficiary of just this try to blanket coverage, key in on Chase, take him away. and that's going to end up opening up things for T. Higgins. Tyler Boyd has kind of disappeared since the Raiders game. I mean, the Raiders game, he was involved a little bit, but not really as, involved lately. So that's why I would veer more toward Higgins here in this game in terms of player props, in terms of receiving yards, in terms of receptions as well. T. Higgins over 5.5 receptions, over 70.5 receiving yards here in this game. I think he's going to end up getting more targets because, look, as much as Burrow wants to throw to Ja'Marr Chase quite a bit, I do think there's going to be a chance that we see at least a few less targets, and that's going to open up maybe some more opportunities for others to catch the football. And remember, CJ Uzama may not play here, the tight end for the Cincinnati Bengals. Oh, I do want to throw out one more before we wrap it up here. Kendall Blanton is probably going to be your starting tight end here for the LA Rams. They're very, very much doubtful that Tyler Higbee is going to be ready to go. I don't think he's practiced all that much from what I've read this week. So I think it's very likely you're going to see Kendall Blanton end up being the starting tight end here for the LA Rams in this game. You're going to get plus 260 anytime touchdown on him. And the Bengals still struggle with tight end coverage down the field a little bit. That is one of their Achilles heels in the defensive side of the football. They did do a good job against Kelsey second half, but Kelsey also ripped them apart in the first half. I think there's a chance here we could see Blanton being involved here. So Blanton receiving yards and receptions props. And I think the thing I like even more is because I think you'll see them targeted in the red zone a bit, because that's especially been an issue in the red zone defense of the Bengals at times, has been allowing the tight ends to convert and find the end zone at plus 260. Definitely Kendall Blanton for the LA Rams, definitely something to consider here in this game. As far as MVP goes, oftentimes, especially if you're going to take the Rams in this game, why and obviously if you're going to take them to win, never mind the point spread, but if you're going to take them to win, you're going to lay minus 190 or minus 200 here on the money line if you're going to get involved with that. Why would you take them on the money line where you can maybe just bet, one of the Rams players to be MVP? You could do that for a better bang for your buck here in this game. It'll be interesting to see who ends up as the Super Bowl MVP. But I think this is not just your automatic that the quarterback is going to be the MVP in a game like this. I think there's some, obviously, you would think Stafford or Burrow, very, very strong candidates. The quarterback has won the MVP award of the Super Bowl, I would say over 75%. Like it's a very strong percentage for that. The MVP of the Super Bowl has been a quarterback. No question about that. But when you look at it, Stafford, that's why Stafford and Burrow are, plus 100 for Stafford, plus 225 for Burrow. Kupp at plus 600. Got to consider it. He's had an MVP caliber season. Why can't he have an MVP caliber game in the Super Bowl? I would take the Kupp price before Stafford or Burrow in a heartbeat. Ja'Marr Chase at 18-1. Higgins at 45-1. I think there's other options here in a game like this. Odell 28-1. Those are the guys that really, really stand out to me. If I'm looking at MVP, this is one year I'm willing to maybe take a shot. Kupp 6-1 is an option. Chase 18-1 is an option. Odell Beckham 28-1 is an option. Even Higgins, like I said, 45-1, just in case Chase is just blanketed and somehow taken out at least a little bit in this game. There are definitely some good prices there and potential live longer shots when it comes to that Super Bowl MVP betting prop. So, yeah, I wouldn't be interested in Stafford and Burrow. I get it. Quarterbacks win it nine times out of 10, or at least 8 times out of 10. I understand that. No question about that. There's no denying that based on the history. But to me, this is a game where you could see a Cooper Kupp at plus 600, Ja'Marr Chase at plus 1,800, Odell Beckham plus 2,800, T. Higgins plus 4,500. Hell, if it's a defensive struggle, and if the Rams win and it's because their defense just dominates Burrow and the Bengals offense, don't even discount Aaron Donald and Von Miller, 16-1 and 45-1 respectively, to walk away here with the MVP. So you know, shop around, bargain hunt. Both quarterbacks throwing interceptions, says Ricky. It's funny you mentioned that. I like that. If you can find that prop, both quarterbacks throwing, because I think Burrow will throw one. I do. And we have seen that he's gone games where he's thrown an interception. He threw one against Kansas City, even though they won that game. And we know Stafford, look, that pass defense was just airtight for Cincinnati. You telling me Stafford can't throw an interception against that type of coverage that the Bengals threw at the Chiefs in the second half where nobody could get open for Mahomes? Yeah. And that's when Stafford sometimes can force things a little bit. So I like what Ricky is thinking there in our chat with both quarterbacks to throw an interception in this game. Both. Because if you take one or the other, you're going to have to lay a price. If you get the both quarterbacks throw an interception prop, you're going to get a much better price. And I think that's worth a bet. That both of these guys, Stafford and Burrow, will throw an interception here in this Super Bowl. All right, we're just about out of time. And I've gone through everything I wanted to go through anyway. That's your look from my standpoint at the Super Bowl. Hope you enjoyed the breakdown. Hope you enjoyed the analysis, and hope you enjoyed the Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy all season long. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the show on the way out, if you haven't done so already. We will wrap up the season finale of Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy with a Super Bowl 56 best bet coming up right after this. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke. Manscaped, promo code PubSports, 20% off your purchase of the Lawnmower 4.0 or any Manscaped product with promo code PubSports. And MyBookie.ag, Super Bowl 56. It's coming up on Sunday. You've got NHL, NBA, college basketball every day, UFC as well. Big UFC pay-per-view on Saturday. Adesanya Whitaker, too. Great time of year. Sign up for an account, mybookie.ag. Bitcoin accepted currency for your deposit as well. Mybookie.ag, promo code PubSports. All right, best bet for Super Bowl 56. You know I like Cincinnati plus 4.5, but I'm going to make the best bet a player prop, and I'm going to go with Joe Mixon over 25.5 receiving yards. To be honest with you, I like the receptions prop as well, but I'm going to go with the receiving yards for Joe Mixon. Over 25.5 receiving yards has been one of my go-tos in terms of player props. So I like Mixon over receptions, receiving yards, but we'll go with over receiving yards, 25.5 for my best bet for Super Bowl 56. And again, Beckham props, Cam Akers props for the Rams, T. Higgins props as well for the Bengals. We're looking at all Kendall Blanton as well for the Rams, tight end, receptions, receiving yards. I think that plus 260 anytime touchdown prop for Blanton is extreme value, knowing Cincinnati's got a little vulnerability defending tight ends, knowing the Rams will target tight ends in the red zone. So definitely things to look at there as well for the Super Bowl. Great show, great season here on Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. And thanks to everyone for tuning in every Thursday. Appreciated it very much. And I'm not going anywhere. We'll still be hosting the NBA Pub Hub 5 days a week, college basketball show on Saturdays. We'll be doing some stuff if and when baseball starts here on the channel, which is becoming more and more clouded by the day. But I thank everybody for joining me all season long on Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy. This is Ian Cameron. Have a great weekend. Enjoy Super Bowl 56. Cash some tickets. Enjoy the big game, and good luck. And we will see you again next season for Ian Cameron's Football Frenzy right here on Pub Sports Radio.